There we
There we
go.
go. Did you
What's
get
going
it?
on?
What up, my man? Hold on. Yeah, sorry. Well, it's, all this high tech shit. I ain't used to it.
How are you
Anyway,
doing?
good, good. Can you see me there? You're okay?
Yeah, yeah, I can see you. It's fine.
All right, cool. Well, good seeing you, my man. I see you're doing some good things. Good for you.
Well, what's
Yeah.
going on with you? Anything new?
Ah, man, I'm staying busy. I had a show in Mexico Saturday, got home Sunday. I leave in the morning to Phoenix, but I'm going more with my granddaughter has a international volleyball tournament, so I'll be up there for 4 days. And next show is the 4th of July in Cleveland with Abdullah Mason. So, yeah, I've been okay. I see you've been okay too, huh?
Yeah, I've been interviewing a bunch of people.
I see, my man. Good for you. So, I told you you're only going to get better and better. So keep it up.
I was just at the MVP fight card, Most Valued Promotions in Orlando, it's funny how I got the interviews because I knew I wasn't gonna get them if I didn't like stand where I was for hours and hours and hours. So I had to sit out in the lobby for hours and hours and hours and hours and
Oh,
just wait for people to walk by, and I would be like, "Can I interview you?" And then I got the interviews.
yeah, I always throw my name out, man. So, I did Stitch, and I'm just, a lot of times not what you know, but who you know, and, you know, hey, I just finished interviewing Stitch. Can I interview you? You know, that's my line to you, brother. All right. So I guarantee you'll get a lot more reaction.
Well, hey everyone, welcome in. Welcome to Fight Talk Podcast with your boy, the What's Next kid here. Obviously, I'm here with a legend, the legendary Cutman Stitch, obviously. And everybody, today's podcast sponsored by Long Island Boxing Charities. They help fighters in need, fighters who struggle with problems outside the ring because obviously a business side of boxing, and some fighters had a little bit of trouble with spending their money certain ways, and should did better with that money, and they just help out with that to get them back what they need and all that support. So everybody go follow them. So anything new for you? Because last time you were talking about that documentary. When's that coming out?
Yeah, well, we just finished. Good. And number one, thanks for getting me on again. It's always a pleasure. I see you doing more and more interviews. So, shoot for the stars, brother. But yeah, we finished it. Now we're kind of trying to present it to, different outlets, Netflix, The Zone, ESPN. I wanted to go somewhere where it's boxing orient or combat sports network type of thing. But the final cut's real nice. I'll send you the trailer once we get off the phone.
Well, and I see you have a clothing line coming out, right?
Yeah, it's the Stitch Premium line, but it's based off of. I think I mentioned it to you. I don't know if I did, but I got a new cannabis line coming out. In fact, just started coming out, and I just signed a contract with a major company out of Canada, where we'll be doing distribution throughout the whole country of Canada. Um, of course, here in Nevada, Thai Stitch, Stitch Premium. But with that, there's a clothing line, and now they're just finishing up the website. So you'll be able to see some Stitch Premium apparel products.
Well, I want to know because I saw you at Most Valued Promotions MMA fight card working Nate Diaz's corner. So give me a little walkthrough of that. And you were live on Kick too, talking to Dan, and you were sitting right next to Rampage Jackson.
Oh, you do get around, don't you? Yeah, yeah. It was nice because working with Nate. I worked one of the earlier fights with Chris Avila. That's one of his sparring partners. So I got there to the arena early, and I'm sitting around and say, "Hey, man, would you like to be on the show with Rampage and Dan Canobio?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, man. I'm always in." Right, but that was a nice feeling. Working with Nate, of course, was a horse of a different color, and I've worked with Nate ever since he came into the UFC. Same with Nick. Once Nick came in, I mean, I've always worked their fights and worked for both from the 209, so it was guaranteed. But during that fight, after the weigh-ins, I see Mike Perry, and he says, "You're working with Nate?" I said, "Oh, man, you got my number." At the first come, first serve type of thing. But he did some heavy damage to Nate, and when he got to the corner, uh, He says, I can't see. And I could see why, because he had blood was streaming down his eyes. And, whenever anybody stops a fight, it's when a fighter is at a disadvantage, right? And then he had a cut right here, and this cut right here popped a big vein because you put the adrenaline chloride mixture, it's a vasoconstrictor, but it wouldn't absorb into the vein. It just kept bleeding. And then turns out that I talked to the doctor after the fights. And he said he ended up with 15 staples on his head and like 20 stitches throughout his face when it came to cuts. But during the break, he says, "I can't see." I said, "Yeah, Nate." I said, I'm not gonna let you go out." I just see Mike Perry was only gonna do serious damage to him. And so when the referee said, "All right, come on, let's go," I said, "Nope, he's not going out." And he thanked me. He thanked me. His father thanked me. Of course, the whole team thanked me. But that's my job. My job is to take care of a fighter. The chances of Nate winning a fight right there was zero, and I wasn't going to let him go out there and get more damage.
Well, were
And
you in
it's
his?
real quick. It's funny. I just went to my optometrist because I'm gonna go get my eyes checked next week. And he stops. He goes, "I just saw you on TV with Nate Diaz. I said, man, you did a great job. I'm glad you stopped it." And that was just an hour ago. So people are still talking about it.
Well, yeah, with that fight, a lot of people didn't like his performance and stuff like that. But did you get to see like some of his training and how he was leading up into that fight? Because that nobody was expecting that. Everybody thought Nate Diaz was going to come out on top, obviously, and get a decision win or a stoppage or a submission.
Yeah, no, I didn't. My job. I just show up for the fights. But I did see him warming up in the dressing room, and yeah, he just got, I think with Mike Perry, I know Mike Perry, and he's a bare knuckle fighter. So their style of fighting is aggressive, right to your face, that type of thing, and that's what he did. Plus, he was stronger than Nate, and yeah, now Nate's 41 years old, so Mike Perry just took him away from his game plan. And the time he did take him down, the fans were going crazy because he was an advantage, but he lost that advantage right away. So yeah, to call the fight off was the proper thing to do.
Well, how was it being at an MVP card? I guess you enjoyed it.
This is like my fifth fight with MVP. Well, the first one I did,
Froze there for a second. Hold up.
that was at Staples Center in Los Angeles, and I worked with that. And that's when I met Jake, and that's when I met the parents, and then the fight after that, I worked with Anson Gibb when he fought Jake, and Jake beat him, and I worked with Mike Tyson when he fought Jake, and with Nate, and then did a couple other shows. So yeah, good people, good people. Jake's I gotta always give credit where credit is due to people, and Jake is doing the right thing. He's taking care of the fighters. He's paying the fighters well. And he's a good guy overall. So he plays that badass part, but I think that's just part of the marketing skill.
Here, make sure your connection's good, or is it my connection? Because it's a little bit laggy.
Mine's fine. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I guess it's mine. I don't know. Hold on, let me make sure it's good real quick. Let me just put a hotspot on my phone. I don't want it.
Yeah. No, you're coming in good. I think hopefully
There we
I'm
go.
coming good.
Looks
Yeah.
good now. I just had to connect this other phone to this phone to make sure it's stays good because sometimes it will lag off and stuff like that. It's annoying.
Well, the young generation knows what to do. Yeah. So I wouldn't know what to do. If you would have asked me, I would have said, I don't know what to do. But nonetheless.
Well, listen, tell me about when you worked with, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong and he's going to get mad at me. Raul Marquez.
Oh, Raul Marquez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Raul Marquez is in the documentary. They talked to him. That was my first coming out fight in Las Vegas. I've been in Las Vegas 31 years now. Why'd you bring up his name? Well, let me tell you this, and then I'll ask you why you brought that up. And so Raul Marquez, I worked with him, and he defended his world title when he fought Keith Mullins. That was when Oscar De La Hoya fought Hector Macho Camacho. So in that fight, Raul ended up with 5 cuts, boom, something like 65, 70 stitches. And, I kept him in the game. And he ended up the fights went to a decision, and he ended up winning the fight and kept his world title. And that was my first coming out fight. But the legendary cut man, Chuck Bodak, they used to put the tape on his head with a picture of the fighter. He came up to me and gave me some nice compliments, and he was really the first guy to welcome me into Las Vegas and into boxing because they didn't know who I was. I came from a kickboxing background, but I had that experience because everybody in kickboxing got cut.
And
Good
I
question.
brought his and I brought his name up because I met him at the MVP fight card in Orlando, and he was like, "When you interview Stitch, make sure you bring up my name."
Yeah, yeah, he had like 65, 70 stitches, and we're friends now to the point where we're family. And also, you did talk to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I even
good.
interviewed him too.
Yeah, he's a good man, real good man.
Yeah, we kept running into each other too. He's a nice guy too. We had a whole conversation after the fights too. Yeah, nice guy.
Well, how did my name pop up?
Um, because he saw that I was interviewing you, and then we started talking about it.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Because I posted the flyer and stuff.
gotcha. Yeah, right.
Well, what's something fighters say in the corner when things are going badly that fans would never expect?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I've been fortunate enough to work with so many A-level fighters that I never get that. That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked that question, but I've heard guys, it's they when you bring something negative out, like God, I can't hit him, or I'm tired. Then we as coaches, we as cutmen, try to reinforce them through positive thinking and kind of redo their mentality. Andre Ward, kind of go back when he got cut, and I can't remember one of the fights. He said, "Man, at first I kind of freaked out, but then I thought I got Stitch in my corner." And then but on the positive note, you always try to give these fighters some positive information, and and tell them, I'm gonna take care of you like you're my son, and that always helps. And these guys, I always say these fighters, they're all modern day gladiators, but deep inside they're all babies. And my job is to take care of the baby. But that's a very, very good question that you asked because, some of these guys start freaking out. And it's the job of a good trainer to put him back where he's supposed to be and go out there and win a fight. So, Vladimir Klitschko, I'll give you a good example. The last time I worked with Vladimir Klitschko, he was a heavyweight champion of the world from the Ukraine. 8 years he was a heavyweight champion of the world. I didn't see him to the weigh-ins because my daughter had gotten married Wednesday in Crete, and so I flew into London Thursday night. But I knew that the night before a fight, fighters can't sleep because they're nervous. They're thinking about the fight and all that. So before I go out, just to give him a little word of confidence, I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, "Look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm going to take care of you like you're my son." And I leave. And as I'm putting the final Vaseline on him before Michael Buffer does the announcements, and you got 90,000 fans that are cheering and going crazy, we're about this far apart. And he says, "You could call me son." Right. And it kind of gave me chills, but I thought about it and I said, I got into his head, and the last time I saw Vladimir, because they're fighting Russia right now, him and his brother Vitaly. Vitaly is the mayor of Kiev, the capital. But the last time I saw Vladimir was like 3 months later in Germany. And I said, "Vladimir, that one moment, why?" He said, "Stitch, there's very few people I trust in my life. You are one of them." So hold on, my granddaughter just came in and she's loud. There we go. Yeah, she's 13 years old. And tomorrow we're going to Phoenix. She plays at a real high level volleyball. So they got a 4-day tournament in Phoenix, Arizona, and I think she says they got China and Mexico and Germany, and it's an international tournament. So this weekend I'm going to spend time with the family.
Well, do you think social media helps fighters or hurts them?
100% it helps them. These two young kids I worked with in Mexico Saturday, I told them, I said, "You know what? Social media is your best tool when it comes to marketing because," and I tell all these young fighters, for every fan you get on your side, it's like $1 in your pocket, and it becomes a business for you. So you got to understand how to sell yourself, how to market yourself. That's what I do. Same with me. I go out there and I sell myself and I market myself so that you could create interest. And 100% I believe in that.
Now, if you could build the perfect fighter using traits from fighters you worked with, who would you choose for chin, power, speed, heart, ring IQ?
For heart, Joe
Mm,
Smith,
mm.
right? For power, I would go with Vitaly Klitschko. He was a brute, right? When it came to speed, you're talking about speed. Johnny Tapia. Johnny Tapia, when it had speed, he had some real good speed. And these are guys I worked with. All right. I could say Crawford, I could say Mayweather, but I've never worked with them, so I don't really know their true identity. Now, give me those lines again. What are they? The points?
So, chin and ring IQ is next.
Okay, so ring IQ once again, Andre Ward, and we talked about in fact Andre Durrell's uh, uncle trainer called me yesterday, and he asked me about comparing Andre Ward to Terrence Crawford. I said, well, skill level, they both have the same skill level. They're both smart. When it comes to brains, Andre Ward, he'll set up. Well, let me go back. Mike McCallum, also the legendary Mike McCallum. When I worked with him, and we talked about that Saturday when we were at the fights, he would set up his techniques like 3 shots in advance, and come the third time, you kind of relax yourself, and then he would change the rhythm. So that was it. Chin, I got to go with Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant has taken some shots, and he still survives. So I got to go with that. But yeah, heart and soul, Joe Smith was he was a brute, man.
Well, in boxing, what's an unpopular opinion you have that would make people mad about you about the boxing world?
I don't know. I you tell me. I've I never hear those type of comments. When when well with when Nate fought, there were some critics, that he should have stopped the fight, but these are usually guys that give you those type of information, or guys that aren't really in the industry, so they don't bother me. And really, that was the first time I've had anybody talk negative about things that I've do. I always try to do things the proper way and all that, and uh, I get more compliments than I do negativity. And people like when the UFC fired me 11 years ago, Dana. In fact, a friend just left before I got on the interview with you. He says, "Have you seen Dana?" I said, "No, it's been 11 years, but if I see Dana, I'll shake his hand." I said, "Thanks for letting me go, because it's the best thing ever happened to me." But no, very, very few people. Have you heard of anybody, talking negative about myself and me? And if it's probably not right. You know, I try to treat everybody with respect and try to give everybody A+ work whenever I work with them. And, you're always going to have the yin and the yang. That's part of life. You got some people that like your show, some people that don't like your show. Some people are jealous of you, and they will be jealous of you. So as you climb up the ladder and get bigger and better, you're going to have those people that are envious of you. But you need them to make yourself do the right things. So,
Yeah, I never hear anybody talking bad about you at all.
no, I just, I treat everybody with respect. And, I'm at Walmart with my wife. We're getting some water. And the guy says, "Are you in the did you work with Rocky Balboa in the Creed movies?" I said, "I did. And then, well, I don't want to ask you, but can we take a picture? I said, "Yeah, you can take a picture." We're taking a picture right with all the fruits and vegetables. But I never turn down a person, because what could be a little thing to me is a big thing to them. And I grew up with nothing, and but my thing is always give back. I always give back, and always return messages, and just try to do the right things.
Now, if you could corner any fighter in history, who would it be?
Roberto Duran. Yeah, that Roberto Duran would have been my first choice. Alexis Arguello uh, would have been my second choice. But those two guys, growing up, I was big fanatic of them, big fan of theirs. And Roberto Duran, his last name is Duran like me, so I had to. And it was funny because I Constanzu fought Zab Judah at the Mandalay Bay, and I'm walking into the arena with my two friends, and Roberto Duran is walking out of the dressing room or out of the restroom. And he comes up to me. I've never met him. He comes up to me and he shakes my hand. And in Spanish, he's saying that he's so proud of me for representing the Latinos and this and that. And we shake hands and he goes his way and I go my way. And my friends say, "That was Roberto Duran?" I said, "Yeah." So that was my only association with him.
Now, have you ever seen talent wasted because a fighter lacked discipline?
A good question, man. Yeah, I'm sure there's some fighters out there that have showed some great skill levels, but when it came to the discipline factor, a lot of them have lost because of that. They've lost a lot of money. A lot of these guys that made a lot of money, through good performance, lose it because of stupid personality. And but no, I've been fortunate enough to work with all good people.
Now, I gotta ask you again, right? Because it's coming up. It's Saturday, I believe. Xander Zayas versus Boots Ennis.
Well, I know Xander. We're friends. I've worked his corner. My friend Mike Bazos is cut man, and as a matter of fact, I worked with when Nate fought. I worked with his coach. And actually the week after I worked with his coach, and so yeah, I got to go with and be honest with you, I've never seen Ennis fight. I've never seen Boots fight. So I couldn't tell you how good he is. I could tell you how good Xander is. And, he's young. He's a young pup in the game, but he's very aggressive. He's smart. He's ring wise. And his coach is a very good coach. So in that aspect, I don't pick winners. You know that. I don't pick winners, but definitely have favorites. And this one, Xander's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm going with Boots. I've been hearing great things from his camp, like really great things, because I know people that are going down there sparring Boots, and they're leaving like, well, I can't give too many details, but like, let's just say there's a knockout coming.
You know what? That's why I don't pick fights because you don't know and I don't know, and neither do the coaches, right? The reality of the game is we don't know. Whenever guys are, and I'm sure you look at Xander's training camp, sure it's going just as well. So I've been in training camps where everything is positive thinking, everything's positive thinking, and Boots. I mean, give him credit. I've never seen the young man fight, so it's tough for me to criticize him or give him compliments or anything like that. But good for Xander. He's a young kid, you know, and he's kind of coming up the ladder. And if he loses, it's because of this experience factor, and more than anything else.
Now, you've seen champions rise, fall, and come back. What's the one thing every successful person, not just fighters, need to understand about life?
Well, all these guys, they have a dream, and they're all following their dream. And like I say, once again, it's the yin and the yang, the positive and negative. So if a fighter's gone through a lot of negativity, he still has that mental game in him that's positive. That should take him to the next level, and but one thing, you can beat anything, but you can't beat time. And you as a coach and you as them, if somebody's coming in and they did a great career and then they were out for a while. And like Samuel Peter, when we were in Mexico, one of the coaches for Samuel Peter, that was a great fighter, heavyweight fighter. Well, he's been out of the game for 10 years. And he was just talking just the other day, I was hearing that he wanted to come back. But you can't come back. You can beat anything, but you can't beat time. Nate Diaz was a good example. He's 41 years old. So age does take a lot away from you if you're in combat sports.
Well, what did you think about Manny Pacquiao when he just came back, what, last year? Because I thought he had a good performance against Barrios.
Yeah, but that's it's a one-time thing. Manny, he's been doing it all his life. And the thing about Manny is he's always kept himself in good mental and physical condition. So but it was good for one fight. That's it.
I thought, did you watch the fight?
No.
Because I thought he won. I thought it was a closer fight, but I thought he pulled it off by about 2 rounds.
Yeah, and I can believe that. Barrios is okay, but he's not great.
Yeah.
I've seen that, he's made a lot of mistakes and Manny just a super veteran. Super veteran. I remember I saw him his first fight. He fought at the MGM. I think he was like 105 pounds or 115 pounds, whatever it was. Nobody knew who he was, and he beat this guy from South Africa, I think it was, and beat his title. And that was the first time. Who is this guy? He looked like Roberto Duran. He fought like Roberto Duran, and that was a memory that I've always had of Manny Pacquiao.
Now, who's the most memorable fighters you worked with that you always remember and they're always on your mind?
Johnny Tapia was a legend. Working with him, Mike McCallum were legendary, and it blows my mind to work with them. Right? Wow, I'm working with Johnny Tapia. Wow, I'm working with Mike McCallum. Those two guys always stood up because there's a one of a kind of each. And those are legendary fighters. The Klitschko's, they're both legendary fighters. Uh, and they're both badass heavyweight fighters. So I've been privileged to work with so many great guys at this high level, championship levels, and so it's tough to say I like you better than I like Joe Smith. So
Well, well, that's all the questions I really have for you today. Is there anything else you would like to add or anything?
nah, man, you're just doing a great job, brother. I'm so proud of you. I think I was one of your first clients, huh? When you
Yeah,
first started.
second one.
Second, yeah, yeah. So, look at you now. And, I always tell, I did an interview when I was in Mexico, Spanish interview, but the guy asked the question, what would you tell these young people? I said, look, that one line we're all scared to cross. If you don't cross it, you'll never get there, right? And I'm sure you've been through it, just starting off your podcast, and look at you now. You're out interviewing Raul Marquez and, telling who else big stars you're interviewing, and it's only getting better for you, you know. But wish you all the luck, man, and we'll do it again, and we'll stay in touch. And doors are always open. So if you have any questions or anything like that, where I could, help you out, I'm there for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Jake Paul, the big fish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's trying to get Jake Paul. You know,
Well, I know I'm gonna get him because I've been going to most value promotions events, and I make sure they always remember me. I go up to everybody. I'm like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you." Travis Smith, youngest brother of Joe Smith Jr., former WBO light heavyweight world champion. That's how fast I say it, and I
yeah,
shake their hand, and they're like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Nice, nice." And then
yeah,
there we go.
yeah. You're doing a great job. Like I say, whenever you can, throw my name out there. You know, and even if you kind of stretch the rules a little bit, I just interviewed Stitch Duran. He said to touch base with you. So it's all marketing, bro. Marketing 101. How do you maximize it at a minimal cost, and then you use the tools available to you. So you know, all the best, brother.
Yeah, and actually, the WBO president was there too, and I asked around. I was like, "Is that the WBO president?" And I went up to him. I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you." I was like, "I'm coming for your belt. I want your belt. Give me it now. I'm taking it when I turn pro.
Uh-uh.
It's mine."
My man. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he was like,
How's your boxing coming along?
It's going good. Well, right now I'm injured with this thing. I don't know what the problem is though. Like I don't know why it just. I mean, I've been doing physical therapy for my hand. It's like a little bit messed up. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, keep plugging away, man.
Yeah, it's annoying though because like you'll see people sparring and then you want to be sparring.
What part of your hand hurts?
It's like it's just the knuckle up
The
into
knuckle.
here. Like it
Yeah.
has to be 60 degrees like this, and it's just is like where it goes up here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's your tendon, and it takes time for that one to heal. It's painful. Just touch it, and it's painful and all that. But keep rubbing it, and get that blood circulating in there, and try to adjust it, and give it time.
Well, it was good talking to you today. Anything else you like that?
Nah, I think you did a great job, man. We'll do it again, huh?
All right. Well, I'll see you. All right.
All right, for sure, anytime.
All right.